All right, so let's go over my trade from the first, so yesterday. We'll start from the beginning. So right here, I was just looking at if we had any news. It was actually some news going on that really impacted the market for the day, especially for like NQs, the non-farm payroll that came out, unemployment rates. It was some really heavy news that causes market movements. So anyway, let's fast forward. So doing our top-down analysis, you know how we do. We have to see what the market is doing overall for the day. So after reviewing the market, we could see that there was just some rejection that was happening. So with the rejection, I was able to see that rejection area happening on the 4 hour, the 1 hour, and then just going all the way down to the 2 hour, 5 minute. All of the charts was confirming that there was a downtrend. So here we see that the daily, it finished that head and shoulder. So the shoulders here to the left, that head, it came back up and filled that gap as we see the prior day. But if we look at the 4 hour, we see at the top how it's rejecting, right? That green candle, the red. Let me actually go back just a little bit so we can pause and talk about that. So this is the 4 hour chart. So this candle to the right was what was happening in the NY session. This red candle happened in the pre-market, and that green candle before the red candle also happened within yesterday's market. So, or excuse me, within the prior day's market. As we see, the candles did try to go up. So if we see, they tried to go up, but it wicked down. That red candle came. It also tried to go up a little bit, and then it came and wicked down. But it also was holding that level below. And this green candle as well, it opened up the NY session, or excuse me, the 8 a.m. session, and it didn't make a lot of movement up. You could tell that it was starting to lose some power. So once I saw that the 4 hour candles were not closing above that level, right where we see that gray zone, I started to switch my mind to looking out for some sort of sales. So I like to see my patterns on the 15-minute chart. I use the 1 hour to kind of confirm some things as far as trend as well for the day. We just been in a uptrend, so I was thinking maybe it could have been like a pullback, but with seeing that rejection on the higher time frames, that is what helped me switch to potentially sales due to, one, we've been going up for a few days, and it could be time for just simply a pullback. But then the 1 hour time frame, I saw these 3 little green candles. Now, since I've been trading, I found out there's like a term for it. I don't know, 3 crows or something like that. But every time I had seen these candles, like if we had this big red candle, and then say there were 3 little green candles going up, but they were all pretty adjacent to each other. Like it wasn't like they were like really making a lot of big moves. That indicated that we were still actually going to be in a downtrend. So when I saw those 3 little candles, I was like, oh yeah, I've seen this before. And that comes with chart time. Like you sometimes will look at the chart and be like, this look like I've seen this before. So once I saw that, I already had my levels marked for the day. So I knew where I wanted to enter. At this point, I was waiting for my specific entry for that trade. So on the 15-minute chart, we had this happening within the NY session here. It's about 8:30. I do not trade at 8:30. I would trade at 8:45, or I'll trade within the previous session. But this was happening at the first 15 minutes. So it looked like it was consolidating. Honestly, at some point, I was like, well, maybe it's going to pop. Like, I mean, we've been on an uptrend. But again, the story that I see is we had this high in the pre-market. So these this resistance showing here in the pre-market, and then when we opened in the NY session, we opened lower, and normally that indicates that we're going to potentially still move lower at that point. Like we're going to try to go back before we go back up, go down before we go back up. So I just continue to watch there. So at that point, I marked my little trend line on the 5 minute because it was like a little uptrend on the 5 minute, and it was holding that. So my level of interest as far as for me to get into sales was the break of this neckline. So the break of this next neckline, some people would have just taken their entries right when it broke this uptrend in this level here. But I wanted to have just a little more confluence on top of what I was already seeing. So I wanted to see it break the trend line. So let's go closer to where I started to trade. As we look on the left-hand side of the screen as well, we see where even on the 2-minute chart I had marked the resistance that I was seeing. So it was definitely a lot of confluences on top of these patterns that we were going to head down. But I have this gray zone here, which indicates that there's a lot of moving that had happened in this area. So that's an area I will not trade on, or excuse me, within. And since it was already making its move close to that gray area, I wanted to see my next level of entry, which was right here, the 70.39 level, which is green, and I had an alert on it. So I was just waiting to see what price was going to do. Was it going to break my level at that point, and were we going to hold? So this was the 2-minute chart. As you see, we created that resistance even on the 2-minute, continued to come back down to this zone here that I had marked. And then on the 2-minute, it began to flush. So at that point, I'm looking back at the charts here, and I'm just waiting for my entry. So at this point, I'm waiting for a clear entry to get in, and that was going to be right here at this level 70.39. So patiently waiting. We had a little small bounce retest try to happen there, and we just continued to flush. So right here is my gray zone. Like on the 30-minute chart, it was showing that it was right above it. So it definitely wasn't an area of interest for me to get in. I was seeing again some confluences. The 5-minute chart, as we see, this was a trend line that was created. It was showing that we were kind of going up, but it ended up breaking that. But again, my gray zone was right there, which tells me not to get in the trade right there. We need to see a hold above or a break and hold below. So all right, so I was getting ready for my sells here. Had my finger on the trigger. And at this point, it was starting to come with some volume. My alert went off. However, I needed to see a little bit more, and I needed my level of confirmation to show itself before I got in. And as we see, it's starting to break the gray level, which is awesome. However, my level of entry is right there below with the dark green. So this previous level of support. And at this point, the volume on the candles, the higher time frames, was showing significant, that it was a significant push down. And I knew once it, or not knew, but definitely expected once it broke this level here of support, then we were going to at least try to head back down to this next gray area due to, again, that previous day candle, we just had a straight shoot up. So the market likes to feel imbalances as well. And that was definitely an imbalance. It was close to this next level here. So I knew that once we broke this level of 70.39, we were going to head on down to my next area of interest here. So we had another candle breakout below. And right here, I'm just patiently waiting for the entry to get in. At this point, I wanted to see a break again below this level of 70.39 that was acting as a support. All right, we see it went bling. All right, so what I'm doing now is checking out the higher time frames. Well, the lower time frame, I checked to see if there was going to be some form of retest on a lower time frame, like if I could catch a candle trying to go up and reject. So I started looking at the 3-minute. Yeah, and I moved that because I saw the support was a little bit higher than where it actually was. And then when I look at the 15-minute chart, that next 15-minute candle, it was about to close. So wasn't in a rush to get in a trade right there because literally it was 9:27 a.m. and the other candle was going to open in a few minutes. So don't want to get caught up in that. So I wanted to see what that next candle was going to do. Where were we going to open? How are we going to move at 9:30? So what that next 15-minute candle would show. So I saw that 30-minute candle was thick as I think I am. But anyway. But yeah, so that candle was super thick. And the volume was really good on it. So I was just waiting to see like, okay, what is going to happen within this next 30-minute candle? Like, what were we going to see here? So as you see, we are responding to that area of support. We're bouncing a little bit. but it was so much volume on the higher time frames where I definitely had confidence that it was going to continue to drop. And as we were coming up on that next 30 minutes, we were just coming with more and more volume. So volume is what pushes the candles in either direction, up or down. That candle needs some volume. So no matter what direction is going, if it's not a lot of or a nice amount of volume behind it, or volume that looks correct, then that move is not a real move. Okay. All right, so it was holding that level of support, so I was chilling, but then I saw right here on this 15-minute candle, I was like, ooh, those candles are thick. We are coming. The volume was looking good. That indicates that the move still it's moving. And 30-minute candle, I believe, opened. Look, I was going down to the 1 minute because I was like, oh, I just want to see a nice, cute little retest where I can have a nice risk to reward situation going on. And you see it holding, so I was like, oh, it looks like we're holding. But then you look at those higher time frames, it was showing that we were going. All right. So I didn't take an entry yet. I wanted to see a break below. And when I checked out that 15-minute candle, it was go time. It broke below it plus the wick below it. So it took that out. And that level below was my level of interest, or obviously my take profit, which I had at, I believe, 20 points. And I did continue to move my stop down. So I think I ended up getting out at, or it stopped me out at 15 points per contract. So that was a win on my evals, as well as my live accounts. But my live accounts for this week, I had traded micros due to my consistent losing. I had to lower my risk to manage my emotions, as well as to just ensure that I'm following process and not trying to make up my losses. But this was my trade here. I let it run, other than moving my stop down as it got into profit. And if you see me switching between different charts, it's because CL, sometimes it looks like it's not moving. I'm like, is it my internet? Is it CL? Like, what is it? So yeah, so we see how it's moving down. And I moved my stop real close because it was close to that gray zone. So I moved it super close. And I think it retraced and took me out. Yeah. So that was my trade, but this was a great trade. There we go. 400, 333, and then 30 across the live. So that was my profits for the day. The PAs are the live accounts. The ones that just say Apex are the evals, and then take profit in my funded futures. Those are the other evals through other prop firms that I am testing out. And that is my trade recap for yesterday.